Perfect. Again, welcome to the 2+2 pathway sessions. This breakout session will cover the topic of the 2+2 transfer pathways as an option for degree attainment for your students. And we're very happy that you joined us today. My name is Dr. Jessica Lopez-Velez, and I am the Director of Transfer Recruitment and the LINK program at Florida Atlantic University. I have been working with FAU for 14 years now, and specifically with the LINK program since 2010. I am very passionate about the 2+2 pathways and working with transfer students who are going the non-traditional route to achieve their degree. So I'm very, very happy that you're here to learn more about how these pathways provide more options for your students. Joining me today, it's a great colleague from a sister institution, FIU, Neelam, and I'm going to ask Neelam to please introduce herself.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez-Velez. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Neelam Mahmood. I'm the Associate Director in the Connect for Success office at FIU. I too have been doing this work for several years, first at the admission side of the house, where we really worked closely with students that were on these guided transfer pathways at the state college, supporting them by introducing the pathway and making sure they were on track, and then moving over more to the advising side, which I've been doing for a little over 11 years now. So also very passionate about this work and excited to be here to, potentially engage in some dialogue and answer any questions that you all might have about these programs.
Excellent. And the way we will move along the presentation is we will start talking about the 2+2 statewide articulation agreement. Then we will dive a little deeper to talk about the specific enhanced 2+2 pathways, share some information, general information about the different 2+2 pathways that are currently in place within the SUS institutions. And at the end of the presentation, we will open for Q&A. So sharing a little bit of information with you about the statewide policy for 2+2 transfer pathways. I have to say that we're very fortunate in the state of Florida that it had the initiative at the state level to be innovative and establish the statewide articulation agreement that really opens up access and increase post-secondary degree attainment for students in the state. It doesn't only does that, but it also provides a significant cost and savings for students and their families, because for their first 2 years, they will be taking courses at the state college tuition rate, which we know, it's lower than the state university. And by earning their AA degree from Florida college system institutions, they can transfer to a state university institutions and have all their credits transferred. The statewide articulation agreement is guaranteeing students that if they transfer with that associate in arts degree, they will get guaranteed admissions to a state university system. However, there's a caveat, and it's that it doesn't necessarily mean they're guaranteed admissions to the institution, to their first choice institution, right? Or neither to their first choice program. Another thing that's important to note about the statewide articulation agreement is that it does not apply to the associate in science degree. So a student needs to be aware that if their plan is to earn a degree from a state college to later transfer to a state university in Florida, they must enroll in an associate in arts program. The 2+2 statewide articulation agreement lays down that foundation for transfer mobility between the state colleges and the state universities. And then the statewide common prerequisites manual provides a lot of information to help guide students and advisors on how those credits transfer and what are some of the prerequisites that are required for when the student transfers to a state university. And the policy at the state level has really opened the door to these transfer pathways and facilitated facilitating a lot of the work for the state universities. However, for those that have been working for years, like Neelan and myself, one-on-one with students, with our partner state colleges, we realized that while the statewide articulation agreement addresses one of the biggest barriers that transfer students face, which is the transferability of credits, there are other barriers that we are seeing or that we were noticing that were not being addressed. And, that's why we decided to go one step further and develop very specific and enhanced 2+2 transfer pathways with our main state college partners. And to that aspect, we're going to have Neelam talk a little bit more about what these guided transfer pathways do and how they can benefit the student.
Yes, thank you. So just to echo what Dr. Lopez-Velez said, the 2+2 articulation policies, that framework really, they lay the foundation, right? They lay the foundation for transfer within the statewide transfer for students here in Florida. But what these guided transfer pathways really do is they ensure continued success, right? They make sure that these students are getting exactly what they need when they need it, that just-in-time support. And it's really putting the student voice at the center of it all, right? And that's really what's been important to these partnerships, these institutions that are working together to ensure that they're hearing what students are saying, that they're understanding what students are saying or what they need, meeting them where they are, and then reapproaching this work from that lens, right? Transfer affirming, transfer ready. Again, to make sure that we're supporting the students in the best way possible. And so really what this means is that the students on these guided pathways have guaranteed admission now to a state university within the state university system that is part of that partnership, right? So if a student is interested, let's say, in going to FAU, right, and they kind of are already prepared to go to Palm Beach State College for whatever reason that might be, whether it's financial or it's, PBSC is closer in proximity right now, a particular campus, and that's just the best route to take, but that they know they want to go to FAU. Getting on that pathway, the FAU Link program, now allows this student to make sure that there's a seat waiting for them at FAU. Knowing that, the caveat there is that, they're still not guaranteed admission to the particular program. And that's because there are programs within the university that are limited or restricted access. This can mean any number of things, right? It could be that that particular program that they might be interested in might have a higher GPA requirement than the GPA that is the standard GPA for entry to the university. It might be that that program or major requires an audition or a portfolio. Maybe there's a limited number of seats for that particular program. And so the students that are on this pathway, while they know and can be comfortable in knowing that there's a seat waiting for them at that institution, they do still have to do their research to see if the particular program that they're interested in is one that they can be admitted to directly. So there is that little piece that they have to remember. Another thing that a guided transfer pathway supports is conversations and dialogue about curricular alignment. And so that really is now an opportunity for staff, administration, faculty at the state college to now engage in conversations with staff, administration, and faculty at the state university, right? To talk about how they can make these programmatic pathways more aligned, how that process can become more seamless for students. It can be anything from prerequisites, discussions about prerequisites for particular courses and how to reduce the number of barriers or obstacles that might stand in a student's way. And that's what's really beautiful about partnerships like this, is that now it's opened the door to start having those conversations, to be more open to making those changes that would lead to curricular alignment. Pre-transfer advising, coaching, an enrollment expert or an enrollment representative. These are all enhanced campus supports that come along with these pathways. At FIU and through the Connect for Success program, these advisors are called bridge advisors. I know that at other institutions, they're called success coaches. And really their role is to support these students on their journey through their AA degree and beyond, to be fully transfer ready for their university of choice, and more specifically for their program of choice at the university. So these individuals are there, again, providing that just-in-time support, helping students really create those paths, or not really create, those paths are created with their college advisors, but to really help make sure that they're on track, that they're following that path, that they're looking at their maps regularly, and making sure that they're staying on track to meet the requirements to get into their programs. And so, you know, what's really wonderful about this as well is the way that these advisors or these coaches work in tandem with the state college advisors as well, right? There's in no way an intention to replace those advisors. It's really a supplement to the advising that the students receive at the state college. That advisor is your go-to for all things related to the state college, but now this additional support system that comes in from the university can really help you to put those pieces together and prepare you for your journey through AA completion and beyond, when you're getting ready to make that transition over to the state university. Transfer guides are also really an enhanced resource. They can be called something different at any of the institutions, but the role of these guides is to break down what exists in the Common Prerequisite Manual. So you heard about that, and we know that many of you are using those Common Prerequisite Manual, the programs within the Common Prerequisite Manual. But transfer guides are taking that and making that information a little bit easier to digest, right? Maybe finding the course code exactly as it appears at the state college that the student is attending, and making it easier for students to locate that course, knowing exactly what the equivalent of that course is at the state university, again, making that process more seamless, easier to follow. Early engagement is also something that these students can take advantage of. So early engagement at the university while still completing the AA degree at the college. It looks different again for any of these partnerships. At some of these universities or colleges, students can get the ID to the university early on, maybe have affiliate status, and that allows them an opportunity to engage on campus at the university early on. Other opportunities for engagement may not include having an ID to the university, but still having access to attend academic programming, maybe use the library, use other resources. The idea behind this is building that affinity, right? Building that connection to the university and allowing students to build that four-year identity early. So now it's less of a 2+2, it's less broken down, it's more of a seamless path all the way through. I can see the finish line. I know that I'm on a four-year path here because the two institutions are working so closely together and working so well to make sure that that process is seamless. And then scholarships and incentives being, the last point here that I want to make, but one of the most important, because students on these pathways have dedicated scholarships oftentimes that they can take advantage of. So that's another really big perk of being part of an enhanced pathway like this, because they can take advantage of scholarships that aren't available to other students. And then in other cases, having early access to scholarships. So just by being on the pathway, you're one of the first to learn about a scholarship, and you have early access to some of these opportunities that may not be available to other students. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Lopez-Velez.
Thank you very much, Neelam. We're starting to get a few questions on the chat. I promise we will get to those very shortly. I wanted to share with you a quick overview of the great wide array of options for 2+2 pathways within the state university system. As of today, this data was just recently verified with the state university systems directors of admissions. And as you can see, they are very specific. Most of us that work at a state institution, a state university, we know which are the state college where most of our transfer students come from. So we have worked very specifically in this enhanced 2+2 pathway with those state colleges, because we know the impact will be largest if they are included in the partnership. Not two of them are exactly the same. The way that students sign up for the pathway program might be a little different for each of us. The benefits and the incentives will also vary depending on the institution. One piece of advice that we can share with you is that if a student knows that they are planning to get a degree, or they would like to get a degree from a specific SUS, and that institution has a pathway in place with a partner state college, the best thing that they can do is to sign up for that pathway as soon as they start their enrollment at the state college. That way they can really make the best use of the benefits, begin that engagement with the state university, and be better prepared when it's time to transfer. We don't have the specifics for each of these programs. We can talk a little bit about how our program works at FAU and FIU. But for most of the students, and for yourself, if you're interested in more information, you can Google the specific pathway on the institution's webpage. Students, for the most part, can also find out information about that specific pathway with the state college by speaking to one of the state college advisors and letting them know that they're interested in joining that program, as most of them will be aware of the different pathways, partnerships that they have. Or they can reach directly to the Office of Admissions or to the Pathway Office at the State University, and they will be connected with the correct person. One misconception that sometimes students have is that they join the program, or at least it has happened with us sometimes, where we have students that apply to FAU, they're already earning their AA degree, and they say, hey, I want to join the LINK program. And unfortunately, it's too late then. The benefits of the programs are while they are enrolled at the state college. And in no way it's a binding contract. So if they sign up for Connect for Success while they are enrolled at Broward College, and they later decide that they no longer want to transfer to FIU, but instead they want to go to USF, students are more than welcome to do that. There are not going to be any penalties for the students. So it's just that the benefits that they were getting or supposed to get for being part of Connect for Success will no longer apply to them. Neelam has just shared on the chat, that was one of the questions posted, the link to the Common Prerequisites Manual that's been shared on the chat. Something that I think it was Neelam who mentioned it. Sometimes the information there, it's so much that it can be a little bit confusing or difficult to understand or make the connections. And that's where a lot of the pathways really help in breaking down the information for the specific programs with that specific state university. A lot of our transfer guides really are very direct to the point where these are the prerequisites that you need to take at the state college. This is the admissions GPA that it's required. This is the foreign language requirement, etc. So that's something that to keep in mind, that if you want specific information for an SUS institution, those transfer guides are a little bit more helpful than the Common Prereqs Manual. We have a question from Gary, very good question. Is the university focusing on grades earned only during the process of earning the AA, or do they also look at high school grades and test scores prior to the AA when considering admissions? I cannot speak for all of the state universities. For the most part, I feel confident saying that if a student is transferring with an AA degree, we will not be looking at the high school GPA or standardized test scores, because those are not required for students with 60 or more credits or an AA degree. However, if some of those credits that were part of the AA were taking as a dual enrolled student while they were in high school, they are definitely going to be impacting that associate degree, or could be impacting that associate degree GPA or the prerequisites. So, there might be a few occasions where that was the case, where we might look at those credits taken as part of the high school diploma. But other than that, I don't think that plays a role in the admissions decision, or definitely doesn't play a role in for them to join the 2+2 pathway.
Yeah, same for us. It's pretty much, and I think like Dr. Lopez-Velez said, it seems to be the case kind of across the board within the state of Florida. But of course, we always say that it's best to check in with the institution that of interest for that student to make sure that, they don't have specific guidelines that we're unaware of. But I think that that's such a great point that you brought up, Dr. Lopez-Velez, about the students that come in with dual enrollment, because we do see a lot of that, right? So locally, we know of those students as like the School for Advanced Studies students. There are other students that do dual enrollment, but it's typically those students that are near AA completion or have already come in with an AA that are coming in, and at that point are not really considered transfer. They're still considered first time in college students. So the process for them is a little bit different. But if it's not related to dual enrollment, then the AA degree is really what, the university is looking at to admit the students to the university.
Thank you, Nilam. And we have a question kind of along the same line on the chat. If a student plans to use do a 2+2 pathway, but does not take the 2 years of oral language in high school, how does that impact them during the process of transferring the AA degree? Or let me see, how does this impact the student for the pathway, and are the 2 years required for admissions to a pathway? Again, it may vary by state university. For the most part, if the student is transferring with that AA degree, their requirement will be likely met, at least at FAU. If it hasn't been met, it becomes a graduation requirement. So the student will be admitted, but then they will be required to meet that requirement before they graduate from FAU. But again, that's just the case for us. Neelam, I'm not sure if you.
Yeah, same here. It's what we call the Flint Flex. Foreign language entrance, foreign language exit. And that's why it's called that, because you can either come in with it or you can leave the institution with it. And now the state colleges are actually putting, at least, again, we try to be very careful not to generalize, because we don't know what all the state colleges are doing or what all the state universities are doing, but it is an AA requirement, at least I know locally, that Broward College, Miami-Dade College, students, if they are not coming in with the 2 years of foreign language from the high school level, they must complete it at the state college level to get their AA degree. So it's not, if I know the question, we're kind of answering it a little bit more maybe in a complex manner, but the simple answer to your question is that it's not a requirement to get onto the pathway. The student does not have to have the foreign language completed to be in any of these pathway programs. Again, I say that with caution. I know at least for locally FIU and FAU Link, that's not the case. I'm pretty sure that's the case across the board, because students then have the opportunity to complete it at the state college level, which is where that Flint Flex piece comes in. In the past, it wasn't a requirement at the AA level, and that's when it became a requirement here, right? For those students that were on the pathway or attended a state college, they would have to take it at the university level to be able to graduate. So I hope that answers the question, but it's not a requirement to get on the pathway. They can complete that foreign language at the college level.
Thank you, Neelam. Any other questions from our attendees? These are all great questions. Thank you. And I also wanted to share, if you go to the State University System of Florida, I'm going to place the link on the chat. You will find a link to the transfer metric. And that transfer metric has all of this information as long, let me see from current site. It has all of the information along with the links for the websites for the different pathways. So we will be posting the link to the matrix transfer metric on the chat. Thank you again for joining us today. We hope that this information is helpful for you and your students, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the event today. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. If there are any additional questions, I'll drop my email in the chat box. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Same with me.